Someone looks you in the eye and says, "You're really good at this." And instead of feeling proud, your brain immediately starts running a background investigation. What do they want? Are they being honest? They probably say that to everyone. You smile. Maybe say thanks. But inside, you've already dismissed it. If that sounds familiar, you're not weird. You're not broken. But something very specific is happening inside your mind. And it goes much deeper than just being humble. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what it is and what to actually do about it. Let's start with something most people don't realize. Not everyone experiences compliments the same way. For some people, a compliment feels like warmth. For others, it feels like pressure, or even a threat. And the difference comes down to one thing: your internal belief system. Because when someone compliments you, your brain does something instantly. It compares that compliment to what you already believe about yourself. Psychologists call this self-verification theory. Research by William Swan at the University of Texas found that people don't just want positive feedback, they want accurate feedback. They want others to see them the way they see themselves. So if your self-image is negative, a genuine compliment actually feels more threatening than a mild insult. Because at least the insult makes sense. That's not low self-esteem being dramatic. That's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, maintaining internal consistency. If the compliment matches your self-image, you accept it. If it doesn't, your brain flags it as wrong data. And the human mind is wired to reject wrong data. So you downplay it. "It was nothing. I just got lucky." Or redirect it, "No, you're the one who did well." Or you distrust the person entirely, "They're just saying that." But here's where it gets deeper. For many people, this pattern didn't start recently. It was learned. If you grew up in an environment where praise was rare, inconsistent, or used as a tool, compliments became unreliable signals. Maybe you were only praised when you achieved something, never for who you simply were. So you learned that compliments are conditional. Maybe praise was always followed by criticism. "You did well, but you could have done better." Now your brain links every compliment to an incoming negative. Or worse, compliments were used as manipulation. Flattery before a request. Kind words before control. So your nervous system learned a very specific lesson. Compliments are transactions. Someone always wants something. That's not a thinking problem. That's a survival adaptation. Your brain built a defense system. And now, as an adult, every compliment gets filtered through suspicion. Not because you're broken, but because your brain is still trying to protect you from an environment that no longer exists. There's also another layer: fear of expectations. Because accepting a compliment isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It creates pressure. If someone says you're really smart, now there's an expectation to always be smart. If someone says you're amazing at this, now failure feels more catastrophic. So rejecting the compliment becomes a way to stay safe. It's easier to say, "I'm not that good," than to risk not living up to the label. And then there's imposter syndrome. Even high-achieving, genuinely capable people reject compliments because they attribute their success to luck, timing, or other people's low standards. Psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, who first identified this phenomenon in 1978, found it was especially prevalent among accomplished individuals who secretly feared being found out. So when someone says, "You did a great job," the imposter syndrome brain doesn't hear a compliment. It hears, "You fooled another person today." Not a win. A near miss. So how do you actually change this? Because just telling yourself to accept compliments more doesn't work. You need to change how your brain processes them. Step 1. Pause before you deflect. Most people who struggle with compliments have a near-reflexive response. They immediately minimize or redirect. "Oh, it was nothing. The whole team did it. This old thing." The first step isn't to suddenly believe the compliment. It's just to pause. Create a 1-second gap between receiving it and responding to it. In that gap, notice what emotion arises. Discomfort? Suspicion? Embarrassment? Just noticing, without acting on it, begins to interrupt the automatic pattern. Step 2. Receive without agreeing. Here's something nobody tells you. You don't have to believe a compliment to receive it gracefully. You just have to allow it to exist. Instead of internally arguing or externally deflecting, try this internal shift. This person experienced me in a positive way. That's real, even if I don't fully see it yet. You're not lying to yourself. You're not forcing toxic positivity. You're simply allowing someone else's perception to coexist with your own, without immediately deleting it. Step 3. Track patterns, not moments. One compliment might feel like a fluke, but repeated compliments about the same thing from different people, across different situations? That's not coincidence. That's data. And patterns are much harder for your brain to dismiss than isolated moments. Stop evaluating compliments individually. Start noticing the trends. Step 4. Update your self-concept gradually. You don't need to leap from, "I'm not good at this," to, "I'm amazing." That leap feels fake, and your brain knows it. Instead, move one step at a time. I might be better than I thought. Maybe there's some truth to what they said. I'm improving at this. This creates slow alignment between external feedback and your internal belief system, closing that gap where the dissonance lives. And if this pattern feels deep, especially if it connects to childhood experiences, working with a therapist trained in attachment or schema therapy can be genuinely transformative. This is one area where professional support makes a real difference. But here's the part most people never consider. Everything we've covered so far frames the inability to receive compliments as a deficit, something to fix. And for many people, it genuinely is causing suffering and deserves attention. But there's a hidden twist. Research in social accuracy theory suggests that people with high self-critical tendencies are sometimes more accurately calibrated about their actual performance than people with high self-esteem. High self-esteem people tend to carry a positivity bias. They consistently overestimate their own abilities. People who distrust compliments? They're often rigorous self-evaluators. They notice gaps. They hold themselves to high standards. The same cognitive habits that make praise feel uncomfortable are often the exact habits that drive excellence, ethical consistency, and intellectual honesty. So the goal is not to become someone who uncritically absorbs every piece of praise. The goal is selective openness, the ability to evaluate incoming positive feedback with the same rigor you already apply to criticism. Not accepting it blindly, not rejecting it reflexively, but actually examining it the way a good scientist examines evidence. Because here's the deepest truth about people who don't trust compliments. They're not defective receivers of love. They're often highly sensitive, deeply thoughtful people whose nervous systems learn to be careful, in environments that weren't safe enough to be open. The work isn't becoming someone new. It's building enough internal safety to let good things in, without losing the discernment that makes you you. So the next time someone gives you a compliment, don't rush to believe it, but don't rush to reject it either. Just hold it there for a second. Because maybe, just maybe, they're seeing a version of you that you haven't caught up to yet. If this video resonated with you, that in itself is worth paying attention to. Understanding why something lands is the first step toward changing your relationship with it. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. You never know who's been quietly carrying this. I'll see you in the next one.